I started my day broken, but these 7 minutes of inspiration transformed my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The morning sun crept through my window, teasing me with warmth while my heart felt like ice. I stared at the ceiling, my breath coming in shaky gasps. The world outside felt distant, mysterious, as if it were mocking my despair. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my phone, searching for anything to pull me from this darkness. Flashes of panic hit my chest. My best friend had just moved across the country. My parents were wrapped in their own battles, drowning in silence. Would they even notice I was gone, lost in this deep sea of sadness? The familiar ache felt heavier that morning. The old clock on the wall ticked louder than I'd ever heard. Each second echoed like a drumbeat in my soul. I wanted to scream, to shatter the suffocating silence. My heart pounded, but at that moment, I was still caught in despair. Just when I thought the day would swallow me whole, a notification popped up. An email. 7 minutes to change your life. I hesitated, but curiosity tugged at me. What if? I clicked it, and the screen flashed bright images of vibrant faces, laughter, hope. I inhaled sharply. The intensity sparked something deep within. The first scene filled my vision. A woman framed by a sunlit park, eyes shining. I once believed I was alone, she spoke. Her voice crackled through the speaker like a whisper between lovers. Until I realized pain can forge connections. I leaned in, heart racing. Each word wrapped around me, tugging me away from despair. Truth poured through the moments as people shared their battles. Tears threatened to fall, but a flicker of light appeared amidst the shadows. Sudden chaos erupted on my phone. I scrolled rapidly, desperate to know more, as voices swirled with emotion. Some friends, some strangers shared stories of resilience. Heart-crushing loss met with astonishing strength. This was raw, truthful, and compelling. I felt the weight of their struggles pressing against my own. The connection sparked hope. But then, the video shifted. A familiar name echoed through the air, someone I lost long ago. My throat tightened as memories and secrets whirled beneath the surface. It felt like a punch in the gut. How could they know? Was this a sign, or a cruel twist of fate? I was frozen. I wasn't ready for this. I stumbled through fragments of my memories, drowning in the bittersweet taste of loss and longing. My breath hitched. Was it really possible to transform my pain? Could those 7 minutes lead me somewhere brighter? My thoughts spiraled, merging reality with mystery. The video cut to black. A simple question lingered. What will you choose today? That single moment held infinite possibilities and left me hanging in uncertainty, questioning everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. When the video ended, a disquiet stirred inside me, a tempest brewing within the fragile glimmer of hope ignited by those shared stories. I blinked at the screen, feeling both lighter and heavier at once. The question hung in the air, daring me to confront the tangled threads of my own pain. What would I choose today? With trembling fingers, I closed the laptop and stood up, the air in my small room crackling with urgency. My heart raced with the remnants of both fear and possibility. I took a tentative step away from the familiar shadows that had wrapped around me like a shroud for too long. I grabbed my jacket, determination taking root amid my insecurities. The world outside felt daunting, but I resolved to leave the confines of my isolation, even if just for a little while. The crisp breeze brushed against my skin as I stepped onto the sidewalk. Sunlight poured down, illuminating everything in a golden hue. I clutched my jacket tightly as my feet moved steadily along the path, each step like a mantra whispering that I could choose differently today. Perhaps the connections I'd seen could extend to me, as they had for the strangers I watched. The park where I found myself was bustling with life. Children giggled, runners passed, older couples strolled hand in hand, and I was filled with the poignant reminder of what I had lost. but also a strange longing for what I might still find. I meandered through the winding pathways, absorbing the laughter that banished silence from the air. My heart ached with nostalgia, but it also pulsed with a glimmer of Hopian urge to connect, to be seen and understood. As I sank onto a bench, a flurry of butterflies danced around me, drawn toward the sun. They were proof that transformation existed, life flourishing where in the coldest of winters it seemed impossible. A smile tugged at my lips. Such small moments of joy startled me from despair. It was a gift, this moment of clarity, but an unrelenting weight still loomed in my chest, a reminder of the unreconciled pain. Lost in thought, I nearly missed the elderly woman approaching me. She was bundled in layers, her gait slow but purposeful. She settled beside me with a soft sigh, and despite the distance of our years, our eyes met, sparking an unspoken bond. "What brings you here, dear?" she asked, her voice warm, digging gently beneath my layers of pretense. For a brief moment, I hesitated, straddling the line between vulnerability and the need for protection. "I am just trying to find my way," I managed, feeling the truth pulse on my tongue. Her gaze didn't waver. It danced with understanding. "Ah, isn't that the journey we all take? Some days feel endless, don't they?" I nodded, suddenly overwhelmed by the weight of my own emotions. It wasn't just her experience that resonated, it was the validation of my struggle. Here was someone who had also navigated the relentless waves of life, her presence pulling me out of solitude. "A year ago, I lost my husband," she divulged as if sharing a well-kept secret. Her voice trembled, but it carried a quiet strength. I felt so deeply alone, like a splintered vessel cast adrift. My heart twisted, struck by the rawness of her truth. Her pain echoed mine, thundering through the silence that had wrapped around me for so long. "I'm sorry," I whispered, the words heavy with empathy. "Thank you, dear," she said, her eyes shining with tears that danced at the edges. But through that hurt, I found pieces of myself I never knew existed. I never anticipated such a journey, but it has been full of unexpected kindness, too. For a moment, we sat side by side, sharing quiet stories of loss and resilience, every word weaving an invisible connection between us. Somewhere in the midst of our exchange, a small flame of hope revived in my heart, urging me to embrace the possibilities once more. "Thanks for talking with me," I murmured, feeling grateful for her kindness. Just as the sun began to dip low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the park, a sudden commotion drew our attention. A child had fallen, her cry piercing the tranquil evening. Before I could even contemplate the scene, the elderly woman was on her feet, a fierce protectiveness radiating from her. In that moment, something twisted within me as I watched her rush forward, instinctively compelled to help this stranger's child. It was a stark reminder of life's unpredictable nature, moments of joy tailed by sudden sorrow. As she knelt by the little girl, comforting her trembling frame, a lingering question gnawed at my mind. What if, in choosing to connect with others, I could find my way through this loss as she had? The thought fluttered like the wings of the butterflies around me, and for the first time, I felt the stirrings of something akin to courage. But before I could absorb the reality of this small moment, a chilling shriek broke through the air, a voice I recognized all too well, capturing my breath in a vice. My heart plummeted, and dread washed over me as I turned to see a figure emerging from the trees, someone I thought I would never see again, someone that could unravel everything I had just begun to piece together. In an instant, the delicate web of hope I had nurtured began to fray, and I was left clinging to the precipice of my fears once more, wondering which way my choices would take me next. The figure stepped into the fading light, casting a long shadow that stretched toward me with a malevolence I had tried so hard to escape. My breath hitched in my throat as recognition sliced through the twilight. A face, once familiar, now shrouded in memories of anguish and betrayal. "Alex, surprised to see me?" His voice was low, laced with an unsettling calm that belied the torrent of emotions brewing beneath the surface. I felt the warmth of the elderly woman's presence dissipate, leaving me exposed again, anchored in the sea of my turmoil. She was still by the little girl, offering comfort, But my entire existence narrowed to this confrontation that threatened to undermine the fragile foundation of hope I had just begun to build. "What are you doing here?" I managed, my voice a fragile whisper, betraying the tempest inside. "I heard you were back in town. Thought I'd check on you," he said, his gaze flicking over me, assessing and judging. "You've changed. Looks like you're trying to pull your life together. And what does that mean for you?" I shot back, the sharpness surprising even myself. His lips stretched into a smile that didn't reach his eyes, a facade that sent shivers skittering down my spine. "I just wanted to remind you of where you come from, is all. Those shadows, they don't fade just because you want them to." I wanted to recoil from his words, to gather the leaves of my newfound determination and scatter them in the wind. But as his presence lingered like a storm cloud above me, I was struck by the realization that the very thing I had avoided was standing right in front of me, demanding to be acknowledged. "I don't need you to remind me of my past, Alex. I'm trying to move forward," I said, my voice growing steadier even as doubt clawed at my insides. "Move forward?" He laughed, but it was void of any warmth. "You mean run from it? You think you can just pretend it doesn't exist?" His tone coiled around each word like a serpent, tightening its grip on my resolve. But through the cloud of fear, an inkling of strength flickered within me like a glowing ember. "No, I'm not pretending. I'm choosing to believe there's something better waiting for me," I responded, feeling a pulse of defiance surge. The elderly woman returned to my side, concern etched across her face as she caught the tension between us. "Is everything all right, dear?" The delicate warmth of her presence swirled around me, and I found an anchor amidst the turmoil. I glanced at her, feeling a surge of gratitude, thankful for this moment of connection, this lifeline. "We're just having an old conversation," I said, eyes fixed on Alex, unwilling to let my gaze waver as the shadows flickered around us. "Old conversation, huh?" he echoed, raising an eyebrow, intrigued by my newfound courage. "Interesting way to phrase it. Maybe there are some things worth revisiting. Things you can't really run from." "Maybe," I said, attempting to balance the weight of my past with the fragile hope unfurling in my heart. "But I'm not staying stuck in it. I'm done with that." For a moment, his expression shifted, a flash of something uncertain crossing his features, but just as quickly, he masked it behind the facade of indifference. "Good luck with that. Just remember, the past has a way of catching up." The underlying threat hung heavy in the air, and in that instant, time seemed to stretch. The surrounding laughter faded, the evening dimmed, and all that remained was this confrontation. But as I looked toward the woman beside me, something shifted. She lifted her chin defiantly, an ember of solidarity igniting in her eyes. "We all have our struggles, dear. Don't let fear dictate your choices," she interjected softly yet firmly, casting a protective gaze toward me, rallying me against the darkness lurking at the edges of my heart. Alex rolled his eyes, dismissing her. "Amateur wisdom can only take you so far. You'll see." His voice dripped with disdain as he pivoted on his heel to leave, the dark outline of his figure retreating into the dewy dusk, as if the tension had drained from the atmosphere. A breath I didn't know I was holding escaped my lips in a long whoosh, but the air still felt thick. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," the elderly woman said gently, concern etched in her brow as she watched Alex fade away into the darkness. "Sometimes old wounds don't close as easily as we wish. But don't let him weigh you down." "Thank you," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "For everything. This moment helped more than you know." The corner of her mouth lifted in a kind smile that somehow illuminated even the dimness around us. "You know, dear, it's in these moments, these connections with others, that we find the keys to our own healing." As I sat there, the fading glow of the park illuminated my heart, intertwining my journey with hers, stitching together the pieces of our stories in an unexpected way. But just as I contemplated this new connection, a tremor of apprehension seized me. A part of my heart was still tethered to that fleeting shadow of the past. Nevertheless, I resolved to walk forward gingerly, still feeling the remnants of pain, determined to embrace the connections threading between us, both new and old. Just then, as we turned to leave, a notification chimed faintly from my phone, vibrating with urgency in my pocket. I hesitated for just a second before pulling it out, my heart racing as the message illuminated the screen. A name I never thought I'd see again flashed before my eyes, a name tied to secrets I buried deep. The sender, my mother. Can we talk? The message read, leaving me teetering on the edge of choices, standing once again at the crossroads of my past and future. The golden thread of hope that had woven through my day now fluttered uncertainly in the breeze, just as fragile as the connection with the woman beside me. And at that moment, I began to realize that every choice bore significance, even the ones made in the face of fear. The moment hung in the air like a fragile crystal, suspended between the remnants of past pain and the gleaming potential of what was yet to come. My breath quickened as I stared at the message on my phone, my fingers trembling against the smooth surface. The name mother carried the weight of decades of silence, whispers wrapped in layers of hurt that I had almost convinced myself were buried for good. Are you all right, dear? The elderly woman's gentle voice broke through my spiraling thoughts, grounding me momentarily in the present. She leaned forward, concern etching her features softly against the backdrop of twilight. I think I need to respond, I murmured, still captivated by the fleeting connection in her gaze. Even amid uncertainty, she represented an anchor, a light in the encroaching shadows cast by my past. Take your time, she replied, her eyes shimmering with understanding. Treasured remnants of courage knit themselves tightly in my chest, urging me to acknowledge the truth lurking within me. The message wasn't merely an invitation to recount my childhood. It embodied the weight of unspoken words, the possibility of reconciliation, or perhaps its opposite. My heart thundered as I recalled the pain to estrangement that had once seemed insurmountable. With a deep breath, I answered the message, fingers hovering above the screen. I replayed my childhood, the echoes of harsh words, the hollow silences that spiraled like a vortex into isolation. Yes, I typed slowly, each letter vibrating with anticipation. When the response came almost instantaneously, restoring light to an otherwise darkened sky. Can we meet at the cafe tomorrow at 2? A tremor coursed through me at the thought of facing Hermie hand unsteady. He'll be there, I replied, the admission filling me with simultaneous dread and exhilaration. Just then, as nausea bubbled in my gut, I felt a soft squeeze on my arm. Whatever happens, remember it's your choice to shape the narrative from here, the woman said, her voice weaving through my chaos like a soothing balm. You're not that little girl anymore. Her words resonated, igniting a flickering warmth within as the sun dipped beyond the horizon, shimmering like faint embers in an old fire. Thank you, I whispered, swallowing hard against the tide of emotions threatening to spill over as we stood in the park, sharing stories both poignant and lighthearted. The fragments of my past lingered like specters. I realized I was no longer alone. The presence of this woman, this unassuming stranger, was a reminder that the universe sometimes conspired to interlace our paths, stitching comfort together amid life's frayed edges. Yet, apart from this moment of connection, my heart still drifted toward the impending confrontation with my mother. A part of me sought closure, yearning for the unanswered questions to dissipate. Another part trembled at the possibility of old wounds reopening, the jagged edges of my past ready to cut anew. Just as I began to feel the warmth of hope blossom inside, the faint murmur of laughter turned into an alarming shout nearby. I turned to see the little girl from before, her face frozen in terror as she stumbled backward, having lost her balance on the disheveled grass. The elderly woman and I moved instinctively, rushing toward her, a protectorate born from shared experiences and the need to shield innocence. Are you all right, sweetheart? I knelt down beside her, brushing the grass from her hands, my heart pounding in unison with her rapid breaths. I fell, she stuttered, her eyes wide and glistening. Her tiny hands clutched at the earth, confusion blurred across her delicate features. I offered a gentle smile. I felt a connection growing between us, a bridge linking my fractured heart to hers. It's okay, sometimes we all stumble. But we can get back up, I reassured her, hoping to shield her from the shadows I too knew so well. An unexpected warmth surged through me, a flash of reassurance that perhaps my healing would not solely depend on that looming meeting, but also on the little moments shared with others, the chance to rekindle hope in places once shadowed by despair. Yet, just as the warmth began to settle around us, my phone buzzed again, pulling me back through the fog of emotions. A notification flashed ominously on the screen, disrupting the hopeful clarity that had stitched itself through the evening. I glanced down only to find a new message, this time from an unknown number. My heart sank as my pulse quickened with foreboding. I know you're back in town. We need to talk. You're not safe. The world spun around me. And as I looked up, I noticed the elderly woman's fading smile falter, concern replacing her earlier warmth. It felt as if the fragile threads woven through my life were beginning to unravel, the shadows pulsing once more at the edges of my existence. The little girl's frightened eyes mirrored my own rising fear, and in that heartbeat, it became painfully clear. My journey toward healing was entangled not only with the past, but also with lurking dangers threatening to consume everything I had yet to rebuild. This might not just be a conversation about forgiveness. It could very well become a fight for my life. The cafe's familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee and baked pastries enveloped me as I stepped inside, but it offered no comfort today. The anticipation spiraled into discomfort, tight-knit knots twisting around my stomach. I glanced at the clock, its ticking sound echoing in the spacious yet suffocating room. 2 hours until I would confront the woman who had irrevocably changed my world. Sitting at a corner table away from the murmured conversations, I tried to steady my racing heartbeat with deep breaths. Yet every inhale seemed to fuel the fire brewing within my anxiety. Memories scrolled through my mind like a reel, scarring accusations, empty phone calls, the weight of unfulfilled hopes pinning me down. I placed my palms against the smooth table surface, willing myself to remain present. As I absent-mindedly stirred my coffee, a small, cheerful voice brought me back into the moment. "Miss, can I make you a wish?" A barista, not much older than the little girl I had met yesterday, stood before me, a charming smile plastered across her face. "Excuse me?" I chuckled slightly, surprised at her earnestness. "That if you tell me your wish while tossing one of those pennies into the fountain outside, maybe it'll come true." She giggled, her laughter pure and infectious. "Don't you think wishes require a bit more than just a penny?" I asked, noticing how her eyes sparkled with the simplicity of hope. "Nope," she insisted, her tone unwavering. "Wishes are about belief, not coins." With that, she handed me a copper penny and pointed toward the exit. In that fleeting moment, her unfiltered optimism struck a chord within me. I had spent years tethered to my doubts, my fears, and the suffocating weight of the pasta threshold that demanded immeasurable courage to cross. As I stood and made my way towards the fountain, I whispered my wish into the cool morning air. To face my mother, not just for answers but for closure. The fountain's water danced under the sunlight, shimmering like stars against a deep blue sky. I clutched the penny tightly in my palm, coaxing it with my heart stakes before releasing it into the water. Ripples spread outward, breaking the surface. A physical manifestation of my longing for peace. With my wish cast into the open sky, I turned back toward the cafe, but just as I reached for the door, my phone vibrated against my thigh, jolting me back to the harsh undertones of reality. I had nearly forgotten about the message, bringing darkness back into focus. "Are you okay?" The barista's genuine concern unfurled amidst my turmoil. I think so. I didn't want to admit the depth of my distress to a stranger, but her warmth enveloped me, offering a momentary reprieve from my impending confrontation. "You seem unsure. Just remember, it's all right to feel nervous." There was wisdom beyond her years in her eyes. "Just be you. People who matter will see your heart." Her words lulled me into a false sense of security, knitting a tapestry of reassurance. Yet the fleeting moment didn't last long. As I crossed the threshold back into the cafe, the door chimed a warning bell, and dread twisted in my gut once more. 2 o'clock approached slowly, and as I glanced at my phone to check the time, panic suffocated the room around me. Another message, this one darker than the last. "You have no idea what you've unleashed, and am coming for you." A tremble spiraled through my body as the barista's laughter faded into nothingness. I stood frozen. How could I escape the lingering shadow of my past while facing my present? Was I ready to confront my mother's reality while also grappling with this new threat looming just beyond the door? In an instant, every feeling of strength and determination evaporated. My heart raced, caught in the battle of past and present, each side vying for dominance. Facing my mother now felt almost insignificant compared to this unsettling foreboding. But then the image of the little girl from the park floated through my mind. The way she looked at me when I reassured her she could stand tall, even after falling. I blinked away my trepidation, and in its place sprouted a tiny seed of defiance. Maybe addressing my mother would serve as a starting point. Speaking my truth could be the very shield against whatever darkness awaited me. Yes, I finally spied her across the room. Her figure just a shadowy echo of my memories. I felt the ground beneath me tilting. The choices I was about to make felt monumental, and the stakes had never been higher. However, just as I took a step forward, a sudden crash echoed through the cafe, reverberating against my heart. The world around me froze as everyone turned toward the source of the sound, wide eyes and gasps painting the room in panic. My gaze shot to the entrance, where the door lay barely ajar. Outside, a figure loomed darkly against the brightness of the daylight, their silhouette charged with malevolence. In that moment, I realized with horrifying clarity, I wasn't just about to face my mother, I was preparing for a confrontation that could determine the very course of my destiny. The unmistakable chill of fear clawed at my throat as I stood frozen on the threshold, the world blurring at the edges. The murmurs of the cafe erupted into chaos as patrons scrambled for the nearest exit, their faces drained of color, reflecting a shared anxiety that gnawed at my heart. I felt anchored to my spot, the escalating panic swirling around me like a tempest, while every instinct urged me to flee. But in the midst of the chaos, I found my gaze locked onto that silhouette outside, a darkened figure steeped in familiarity, yet shrouded in an oppressive aura. My mind raced with unspoken horrors, yet an unsettling sense of recognition began to wash over me. Fear and curiosity warred within, each taking hold and twisting my gut tighter. Something's wrong. The barista's voice cut through the crowd, back to me like a lifeline amid the storm. Despite the cacophony surrounding us, her expression conveyed a sense of unwavering calmness. The way she held my gaze meant something, Maureen, unspoken assurance that I wasn't alone in this moment. We need to move. Come on. Forcing my legs to comply, I instinctively turned away from the door, knowing the woman standing outside had likely come to spell disaster. Just as I stepped backward, the figure shoved the door open, stumbling inside with a force that made the glasses rattle on their shelves. A malevolent presence, charged with determination, entered the cafe, drawing all attention like a magnet. Where is she? The voice was low and commanding, sending shockwaves through the air. My stomach dropped as I absorbed the unyielding intensity directed towards my mother, who remained oblivious to the weight of her past bearing down on her. Silence engulfed the cafe, the kind that leaves a suffocating echo. Every pair of eyes darted to her, the stillness broken only by the figure stepping closer. There was a moment, lingering and heavy, a moment before the inevitable realism of our entwined fates weighed down like a stone. I felt trapped, caught in the center of a tumultuous storm that threatened to upend everything I thought I knew. But chaos could also birth clarity. With the barista's earlier words resonating still in my heart, I sensed the flicker of hope buried within this overwhelming fear. I thought of the little girl and the weight her dreams carried, a reminder that courage could be birthed from the smallest of acts. Who are you? My voice emerged stronger than I felt, cutting through the tension of the room. The question rumbled out like thunder against the looming tempest, silencing the disbelief that thundered through my companions. With a swift turn, the figure finally brought their face into the light, bearing their identity, a face I knew too well, yet it appeared so changed. The features were sharper, the eyes colder, a stranger masking familiarity. Recognition hit me like ice water, splintering my world once more. It's you. I barely whispered, a breath escaping my lungs. Yes, it's me. She stepped forward, a torrent of emotions etched into her expression. The palpable resentment only grew between us, threading through the air with each heartbeat. I've come to finish what was started at AS. She spoke of unfinished business and wielded threats like weapons. A gnawing sense of disbelief swelled within the pit of my stomach. I flinched at the memory of unearthed secrets and the haunting shadows they cast over the very fabric of my life. This confrontation cradled an intoxicating mixture of dread and inevitability. Yet, in a rapid succession of thoughts, I knew I couldn't let her dictate my fate any longer. Why now? My words resounded through the chaos, filtering through the panic-stricken breaths around us. What do you want from me? Closure, came her reply, unyielding and sharp. For both of us. Behind me, the barista nudged my arm, her warmth a reminder of the heart at the center of despair. There was still a chance for resolution, a chance to reclaim what was taken from me. I could do this. I had to do this. As I prepared to engage with the dark specters of my past, another jolt shook the foundation of my resolve. My phone vibrated again, this time insistent, as though a dark omen awaited me. Opening the screen revealed a new message that felt like a death knell. Soon, you will understand the true price of ignorance. I will come for you. The dread rippled through me, wrapping tighter around my heart, smothering the kernels of hope struggling to flourish. Just then, glancing flickers of movement scattered around me as onlookers began retreating toward corners of the cafe, some whispering frantically about calling for help. I turned back, my breath coming in shallow gasps, painfully aware the sheltering walls of the cafe could no longer hold the chaos at bay. Please, I urged, tears stinging my eyes as desolation gripped my heart. This is my chance. I need to speak. But as the figure's lips curled into a sinister smile, I realized something far more sinister than my past awaited me. The door to the cafe slammed shut with an earth-shattering force, cutting off any means of escape. The shadow cast by my own history threatened to count me amongst the lost as tensions rose to a boiling point. Me confrontation with the figure blurring the lines of my reality. Let's see if you truly wish to uncover the truth, she challenged, heightening the suspense to a breaking point. And then, as if the world had conspired against my courage, the lights flickered, swallowing the remaining shards of safety in darkness. The cafe, once a haven, transformed into a maelstrom of fear, where shadows flourished and hope struggled to breathe. My heart thudded wildly in my chest, the sky outside darkening, the storm I once dreaded so deeply, now becoming inevitable. This was the moment of reckoning, the place where shadows begged to be unmasked, and I stood at the precipice, yearning for what was still veiled in secrecy, wrestling against the demons within and without. All at once, I felt the weight of the world crashing down around me. And as I looked up, I realized one unavoidable truth. This confrontation would change everything one way or another. As the darkness filled the cafe, the air thickened with tension, and fear coiled tightly around my chest. It was as if the shadows had come alive, swirling and twisting, mocking my lingering hope. I glanced back at my mother, her face a mask of confusion, her eyes darting from me to the figure looming before us, anxiety breaking like waves against an unsteady shore. Stay close to me, I whispered, though my own voice trembled. There was little comfort I could offer her, as I felt the weight of the figure's presence engulfing us both. The barista's warmth was an anchor in this growing tempest, a silent promise that we weren't alone in this moment. Closure, huh? I met the dark figure's gaze once again, forcing my voice steadier as I fought against the icy grip of fear that had left me breathless. You think this is what I want? To play your twisted game while everyone around me breaks apart. Her smile widened. There was a sick satisfaction in her gaze as it swept across the terrified faces around us, lingering on my mother. I had glimpsed that visage before, a melting pot of sorrow and malice, threatening to rain down chaos with every intimidating breath. And oh, you misunderstand, she said, taking another step closer, the dim light revealing the sharp angles of her face. You think this is a game? This is your reality. And soon, it will be your ruin. I felt a surge of anger ripple through me, igniting a small flame of defiance in my chest. You don't know me. You don't know my story. It was the truth, and I clung to it like a lifeline, even as her shadow loomed over me. Then maybe it's time you learned, she mused, her tone condescending, a thread of excitement weaving through her malice. But be prepared. The truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes it chains you even more tightly to your past. In the periphery of the room, I caught sight of the barista, her eyes wide, filled with a mix of sympathy and resolve. As the confrontation intensified, she sidled up closer, quietly positioning herself by my side. Her silent support lent me both strength and determination. Together, we might confront this encroaching darkness. With every moment that passed, I felt the coarse grip of my fears begin to shift, allowing me a sliver of clarity that I was desperately clinging to. I won't let you manipulate my life anymore, I declared, my heart racing as I stared down the woman who had hunted my dreams with lurking shadows for far too long. But the moment I revealed my defiance, the atmosphere crackled with an unyielding ferocity. The cafe's lights flickered off completely, plunging us into darkness. A low whisper sliced through the silence, chilling me to the bone. Ignorance is bliss, but knowledge shatters the soul. A familiar voice echoed ominously, a voice I had once thought lost to me forever, rolling back the veil of my mind. Shadows twisted and turned, forming memories I had buried deep me childhood, laughter replaced by tears, innocence by dread. I fought against the emotion rising within me, inhaling sharply as the weight of my family's secrets threatened to suffocate whatever remnant of hope remained. Don't listen to her, the barista urged softly, gently squeezing my arm. You have a light that can push back this darkness. My heart raced. Another tremor ran through the floor beneath us, suggesting that the very space we occupied was altering. A fierce gust erupted, and the door to the cafe lurched violently, as if the outside world was pressing against it. The patrons' hushed whispers morphed into terrified gasps, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of cell phones, flickering like distant stars in the swallowing void. Help is coming, a voice shouted from somewhere in the crowd, filled with the conviction of desperation. I whispered back, uncertainty flooding my veins. Deep within, I remembered the cryptic message I had received earlier. The clock was ticking, and the tether binding me to this darkness tightened with every beat. And then, amidst the chaos, I heard it, a soft thud against the window. Out of instinct, my heart raced upon recognition. Rushing to the glass, the growing tide of panic receded as I stared at the figure standing outside, just beyond reach. It was a young girl, with big, bright eyes shining through the mayhem like a beacon strikingly familiar. Help me, she cried, her voice small yet piercing through the storm of noise, her hand pressed against the glass as if seeking a connection. A mirror of innocence amidst the suffocating shadows. Please, I gasped, emotions crashing over me like waves. Who are you? The girl's gaze sharpened, and she seemed to peer directly into the depths of my soul. You have to break free, she whispered, urgency racing through her tone. Find out the truth before it's too late. Before I could respond, the figure inside the cafe stepped forward, blocking my view of the girl. Enough with the games. You're wasting time. She swelled with rage, casting a dark shadow over the glimmer of hope before me. But her fury only spurred me on. You don't scare me anymore, I shouted, and every ounce of resolve flowed through me, suspended in the air like a thin thread ready to snap. Watch out. The barista's warning cut through my thoughts just as I felt the air shift behind me. But at that moment, a realization struck me with relentless Clarissa path that had been hidden from my view, now illuminated. The truth lay not only in confronting this figure, but in understanding myself and unraveling the connection between the girl outside and the darkness looming over us. It was a chance to piece together the fragments of my life, and to confront the darkness that had haunted me for far too long. I took another deep breath, preparing to channel all I had into this moment. Step back, I yelled, ready to face the storm, to reclaim the truth that had once been wrenched away. The girl's eyes, still glistening with tears, burned into my mind's eye, an embodiment of hope, flickering insistently like the lights around us. And then darkness coiled tighter around me as the figure lunged forward, breathing down my neck, a rush of chaos spiraling into the depths of uncertainty. In that split second, everything pivoted, and I felt the fabric of my life unraveling as the world around us pitched toward an irrevocable dark abyss. Would I find the truth before it faded beyond reach? And would the girl's message guide my steps through the storm escalating within and without? The shroud of the unknown fused with the unforgiving tide as I prepared myself for the inevitable collision of fate. As the darkness pulsed around us like a living thing, I felt my heart race with every second that slipped away. The figure's visage twisted in triumph, an intricate dance of shadows and malice that threatened to engulf us. The barista's warning echoed in my mind like a distant bell. Stay alert, stay strong. But the weight of despair pressed down, and I could feel it beginning to penetrate even my most steadfast defenses. Through the chaos, I blinked against the thrumming darkness, and in that fleeting moment, I returned my gaze to the girl outside. Her small face was a portrait of desperation, fingers touching glass, pleading silently, as if she sensed the tether that connected her to the trauma veiled in shadows. "Help me," she shouted again, her voice rising above the clamor. "You're stronger than this. Who are you?" I found myself shouting back, every word dripping with confusion, yet laced with a desperate hope that she held the answers I craved. "Your sister," she cried, and the words echoed through the cafe, shattering the chaos like glass. At once, the air grew still, the deafening whispers of fear paused momentarily, and I froze, disbelief clawing at my throat. My sister? I hadn't known her name, had barely a flickering memory of her existence, buried under layers of grief and pain. "You need to believe in yourself," she urged, her eyes shimmering as if reflecting the shards of light my heart once radiated. "I'm stuck just like you. But if you find the truth, if you break free, everything will change." The shadows writhed around me, caught in a battle with the pulse of emotion swelling within, longing, fear, anger. My sister. It was both a revelation and a challenge, pulling at threads I wasn't ready to unravel. The darkness was not just an adversary. It was a memory, a haunting echo of moments with her that spanned the years. The figure I faced, that embodiment of torment, was feeding on the confusion that gnawed at me. She wore my sister's absence like a shadow, a promise of despair that hung over my family like an impending storm. "They all forgot her," I shouted defiantly, fighting against the pull of resignation. "But I want." A surge of courage coiled in the pit of my stomach as a flicker of understanding ignited. I suddenly recalled fragments, the irreplaceable laughter in our home, Sunday afternoons painted with warmth, and then, nothing. Just echoes laced with grief. With each beat of hesitation, I found myself stepping closer to the threshold of truth, where the shadows of my past met the flickering chance of hope. "I will break through this darkness," I murmured, my voice steadying, weaving a fragile resolve. The figure before me twisted with rage. "You're only delaying the inevitable," she hissed, her tone a venomous whisper laced with panic. "You'll be consumed just like the rest." But I refused to bow under the weight of her threat. With each heartbeat, louder than the storm swirling around us, I felt the connection with the girl strengthen. What if she was right? What if I could discover the truth scattered throughout the horrors of my past, and pull my sister back from wherever shadows had mistreated her? "Stop!" I pointed at the figure defiantly, drawing upon every ounce of forgotten strength. "You can't take me down any longer. I've lost enough." All at once, the lights flickered briefly, illuminating the cafe in a stunning glow before plunging back into the depths of darkness. In that moment when eyes met my own and the girls we shared a vow, an unspoken promise that I would fight for her, for us, and for the memories stolen from me. But as energy surged in the room, the figure lunged forward. "You are a fool to think you can forestall your destiny." She moved with a speed that stole my breath, her presence tangibly shifting the air, the walls trembling under her resolve. Then, amidst it all, I heard another sound, a thud, and the scrape of footfalls echoing from somewhere deeper within the cafe. My heart thudded painfully as a figure emerged from an unseen doorway, drenched in shadows but stepping into the vague flicker of light. And all at once my breath caught. It bore the silhouette of someone I had long thought lost me, mother, her face drawn and weary yet fierce, determined to tread this path alongside me. "I'm here," she cried, her voice cutting through the thick veil, a lifeline coaxing me back from the brink. As reality undulated in the chaos, my sister's face transformed into the essence of hope that surged through my veins. "Do you see?" she cried, urgency infusing her tone. "Together, we can break free." The woman before us blazed with fury, pulling darkness in around her like cloak, yet amidst the tempest, a light flickered, and I felt the weight of connection meld into solid ground beneath us. This was no longer just a desperate fight. It was my family fighting back. But as the chaos escalated, the figure unleashed a chilling scream. "You can't escape the truth." In that very moment, the world shifted. The cafe trembled as reality began to warp, a swirling maelstrom of fears, of laughter, of dreams turned to ash. My heart raced, visions clouding my mind. Would we succeed in unraveling this netherworld bound by shadows, or would the even darker revelations of the past consume us entirely? In this moment of desperate hope, I learned the firm truth. There is always a cost to see the light, and someone I loved might still be paying that price in the darkness that surrounded us. The air crackled, torn by the intensity of that moment. As my mother stepped further into the glow, her expression a fierce mix of resolve and fear. Shadows still loomed around us, but they felt less suffocating now that I wasn't facing the darkness alone. I could sense my sister's presence anchoring me to the fight. It was as if our bond was a bright thread pulling us out from the depths. "Mom, you're here," I called, astonishment and longing wrestling for dominance in my voice. Tears pricked at my eyes. The reality of her presence felt surreal against the backdrop of despair. For years, the gaping void left by her absence thrummed raw, and now she stood before me, a beacon amidst the turmoil. But the figure before us seethed, twisting and writhing with rage at my mother's declaration. "Pathetic fools," she screeched. "You think love will save you? It's nothing but a shimmering veil over the truth." Truth? I had to swallow the bitter fire of emotion rising in my throat. "What do you know about truth? You've stolen mine." With a flick of her wrist, shadows lashed out, and I braced for impact. But in a split second, my mother stepped forward, an unwavering force. "You will not touch my children," she shouted, and in her words, I felt the swell of a lifetime's worth of love and protection surge through me. From her outstretched hand came a burst of radiant, golden light that sliced through the darkness, illuminating the cafe in an ethereal glow. The shadows shrieked, recoiling. "Together," my mother urged, her gaze locked onto me, and I saw in her eyes the echo of a fierce fight we'd always shared, even when the connection between us had crumbled into absence. "You must believe. Control the light. It's inside you." My sister's delicate hand grazed mine, the warmth a potent reminder of our bond, urging me to take a leap. The shadows swelled around us, desperate to consume, but the flickering flame igniting within pushed back against the encroaching darkness. With newfound resolve, I pulled my energy together, allowing the light my mother boasted of to surge through me. And then it happened. Tendrils of light spiraled from my fingertips in radiant arcs, intertwining with my mother's, bridging the chasm of years lost. "Feel it," I shouted to my sister, a torrent of emotions rushing through me. "We can do this. We can reclaim our truth." My sister nodded, her determination resolute. "Fight for us. Fight for our family." As one, we combined our forces. The light expanded beyond us, flooding the cafe, banishing the shadows desperately clinging to existence. The malevolent figure bristled, her rage boiling over into frantic, thrashing desperation. But just as victory seemed within reach, another scream pierced the air this time. It was not a cry from our adversary, but a haunting sound that echoed deep within my soul. An abundance of memories flooded back, swirling violently. Suddenly, a tidal wave of grief crashed over me, pulling me down to depths I thought I had escaped. Visions of laughter morphed into images of my sister's face blurred with pain. "Am I too late?" I gasped between ragged breaths. "What if I can't bring you back?" The shadows coiled tighter, seeking that thread of doubt, hungry for the vulnerability laced in my mind. "Feel it, the weight of loss. You can't escape it." The figure hissed, her voice reverberating through the storm. "No," I yelled, shaking my head violently as my heart struggled to break free from fear's choking grip. It was becoming harder to focus. Memories of my mother's voice, of comforting embraces, became distorted shadows that threatened to drown me. But even within that haze, I could hear my sister, steadfast and strong. "Remember, we're all here together. Focus on the love, not the pain. We're fighting for each other." I squeezed my eyes shut, letting her words wash over me, tethering me to the flames of connection we formed. I breathed deeply, allowing the warmth of our memories, the ones not laced with grief, but anchored in joy, to fill me. I could see her small face lighting up, feel the warmth of our moments together, and the beauty in the time still to be made. Suddenly, the figure shuddered. Her grip on the darkness weakened as she shrieked in frustration. "You're a fool to think you can conquer the past." "No," I countered, locking onto the truth embedded in my heart. "We will reclaim it. Together." The light enveloped us, pulses of warmth shooting outward, and I felt my family's presence interweaving through the storm. United, we pressed forward, breaking through the shadows, each surge a testament to our collective resolve. But in that split moment, just as the shadows started to unravel, the figure's eyes darkened with a malevolence I had not seen before. "You may have bought yourself time," she hissed, "but your greatest fear lies ahead." Before she could dissipate into the void, she unleashed one final blow. A blinding flash of shadows engulfed me, and as darkness twisted to envelop my senses, I felt my mind fracture, ripping apart into fragments as voices crept in that I couldn't decipher. The memories, regrets, voices of people I loved but had lost. And as the weight of their sorrows bore down, I realized I was slipping further away from my family's light, drowning in the very grief I thought I had started to mend. As the darkness threatened to consume the last vestiges of my sanity, I heard one final whisper, a chilling echo that clung to me. "One of you will be left behind." With that, I felt the light flicker, precariously dimming, and in its absence, I knew that the battle was only just beginning. Everything felt eerily silent, as if time itself had paused, suspended at the precipice of a life-altering fracture. The cafe, a microcosm of tumult, became an arena battleground where chaos woven in shadows and threads of light would confront the deepest truths of my existence. In that disorienting dark, I felt the connections of our family fray. Yet, there was a flicker, a little thread of resolve refusing to surrender to the encroaching blackness. "You will not take her from me," I heard my mother assert, her voice fierce and unwavering, a clarion call pushing against the swirling void that wished to consume everything we cherished. "You will not take them anywhere." From the depths of despair sprang a surge of light, each pulsing tendril igniting the air with warmth, defiance radiating from the stronghold of my mother's resolve. And within that light, I clung to my sister's essence like an anchor amidst rage-torn waves. "We are together," I shouted, over and over again, echoing my mother's defiance, hoping beyond hope that our shared energy could pierce the veil that wanted to segregate us from the truth. The figure swayed on this precipice, a storm cloud of malicious glee. "You say together as if that strength matters, but you're all so flawed. And the weakest among you won't survive this chaos." I felt the urgency rise in my chest. "You think this darkness can claim us? You forget how love braves the shadows. No more distractions, no more fear. We fight for what has been taken from us." The light beneath my skin throbbed viscerally with determination. I focused fiercely, rupturing the depths of my soul, letting memories recall and bind me to the light. Me sister laughing, my mother's whisper safeguarding in gentleness, the warmth replacing the icy grip of the past. "You are not alone. We are a part of something bigger." The figure recoiled as the incandescent force swelled anew, the visceral brightness slicing through the dark like blades. I felt my heartbeat echo in unison with their combined strength, a thunderous surge defiant against the plight of our past. Shadows rippled, twisted, losing their form, and I pressed onward amidst the chaos, reaching for the flicker of potential beside me. "Do you see? They can't take what we've built together. Light transcends fear." My words resonated like a battle cry, binding the three of us through a luminous lance illuminating the crevasses of darkness surrounding us. In that moment, there was a shift. The figure faltered under our unified strength, and chaos rumbled slowly, threads of darkness wearing thin. Yet, just before liberation could blossom, my heart sank as I sensed the impending truth of her warning hanging like a noose over our heads. Amidst this burst of rebellion, a shiver coursed through my veins. Was it fear? Or was it the sudden pang of loss surging from within? The figure's grin twisted into something like glee. "Yes, one will pay the price. You," she pointed with malicious delight, "will have to choose who deserves to be left behind to embrace the void." Adrenaline surged through me as the words sunk in, laden with a morbid heaviness that pressed against my chest. I could feel dread clawing at my consciousness as I glimpsed my sister and mother, each a testament of resilience, each a piece of the love that had persisted through time. "I won't let you tear us apart," I shouted defiantly, swirling in my light, even as the darkness fluttered around me, suffocating and enticing. But then came her voice, a soft whisper curling around my heart, like a memory resurrected from long ago. My sister's face flashed into consciousness, fragile, yet vibrant, echoing unfulfilled hopes, boundless love. "We are one," she breathed. "But we can't run from our stories." The dimension of this confrontation cracked open around us, shadows swirling with indecipherable intentions. As if they were eager to find weakness, to isolate. I felt it deep in my heart. There was a cost nullifying our fearlessness. I glanced at my mother, her unwavering gaze a pure reflection of fierce love, batted against the dark longing to replace the sorrows of my childhood, yet a wound still unhealed twisted painfully at my center. Maybe, just maybe, this was a chance to reclaim those lost pieces of ourselves and mend the fractures in the fabric of our family. Maybe everything I had felt, that isolation, the longing, the betrayal, could be transformed into something beautiful, something integral to our shared light. I choose them, I cried, my heart ablaze with warmth that rose from the depths of resilience layered with love. I choose family, no matter the cost. In that instant, a rush of power engulfed me, the shadows shrinking in awe as the brilliance of our bond manifested. Panic erupted as the figure lunged with furious intensity. "You can't simply rewrite the truth of our history," she cried. "It's ours." I reclaimed, and no shadow will take it from us again. The light soared, intertwining our souls, and the shadows twisted away like grains of sand flung against a tempest. The air vibrated, a symphony of triumph ringing through, and at long last, I felt the tapestry of memories mend, light filling the space where darkness had festered. That I reached for my sister's hand, the girl illuminating a path through the chaos, and we surged forward, a mighty wave of brilliance crashing against the malice. Together, forever. With that final exclamation, the figure erupted in chaos, a roar cascading from her throat as the last remnants of the shadows shrieked against the incandescent glow. There was a blinding flash, and then silence. Light washed over the shadows, folding them into nothingness. The cafe, once dark and oppressive, shimmered in warmth and radiance. I blinked against the light, my heart pounding in crescendo, emotions abundant with elation and trepidation lacing together like a tapestry woven through grief and hope. Together, we stood in that luminous realm, embracing one another as if shadows had never sought to pull us apart. "Are you all right?" My mother's soothing voice broke through the euphoric haze, her arms enveloping me with reassurance. "I can't lose you again," she whispered, sighing deep relief. That I held onto her tightly, realizing for the first time that safety was not just a refuge, but a memory I chose to weave anew. "I'm here," I said, my voice thick with emotion, "and am ready. Ready to face whatever comes next." My sister beamed, the light of hope flickering vibrantly in her eyes, a testament to the love we had built amidst adversity. As we stood as a family amongst the hushed remnants of chaos, I felt the darkness retreat beyond that threshold. Had it truly vanished? Or was it merely waiting, whispering in the periphery of our lives until I faced the remnants of my thoughts once more? But for now, we had each other. In the warmth of this unexpected reunion, I breathed anew, letting gratitude wash over me like a tide unrolling quietly upon shore. How precious life felt in its fragility, how beautiful the connection sang through in every beat, in every shared breath. As the once burdened shadows receded, the dawn of new beginnings spread on the horizon, like hues of hope extinguishing the darkened remnants left behind. Together, we had triumphed, and my heart whispered the truth: life would flow like an unyielding river, ever-changing yet unwavering in its course. That I, in that moment, surrounded by those I loved the most, I promised, and with every fragment that made me whole, I made a vow stronger than my past. I will never forget the light again. A powerful revelation burst forth. No matter how deeply pain had etched my journey, the heart always carries the capacity to love, to forgive, to rebuild, and to rise again, ready, once and for all, to embrace light over shadows.